What's happening, everyone? We are back to break down episode number 3 of Lalomanu Beach. I am joined, as always, by my co-host McKenna and Robbie, who breaks down the best recaps of the game. Robbie, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm loving it. Episode 3. Once again, we get rolling right away with winner's euphoria. I think that's what we called it last episode. We get a confessional from Dylan and from Anthony telling us, how great they feel and how they've got their final fives lined up. And I think Anthony uses the word gambit. He's pretty much playing everybody but Dylan. Like he's working with Dylan honestly, and then trying to keep the numbers working between, Serena and Nikki and Kyle and even Eli. I think at this point too, he's talking about, just trying to keep everybody at an arm's reach there and have his pull on everybody's game, which is what you want.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, and we roll right into See No Evil. That is this episode's immunity challenge.
Mhm.
And before we get to it, at least, let's say what it is, okay? So there's one caller, and there's 3 people who are blindfolded, and the 3 people who are blindfolded are using a deck of cards, and they need to get a certain suit of cards in order from ace to king.
Yes,
Can you say that again, Robbie?
One more time.
Yeah, from ace to king. Ace, 2, 3, up to king.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then do a puzzle, which I think the puzzle honestly gets completely overlooked in this episode. It's technically part of the challenge, but really we'll see it doesn't make much of a difference.
Props to Jackie for solving the puzzle and everything like that, but it doesn't matter.
No.
Tapua goes into this episode up 2, right? So they have that advantage. They have their original 7, still 7 strong, as they like to say, and against 5. So Serena and Anthony sat out this challenge. And before it even gets started, we have a perfect made-for-TV moment in Carlo where he jumps in and says, as long as we're not swapping, or something like that, because just bragging about how good his tribe is. Yep. I don't care what the challenge is, as long as it's not a swap, we're going to win. It's pretty much what he's saying.
Oh, yes.
And when you see that in the shows on TV, any reality TV show, it's just bad karma. You are jinxing yourself. And if it makes the edit, it's going to be bad.
Yeah. And any of the, I'm safe. What can I tell you? Like, we're great. Everything's harmonious, like all of that.
Yeah. And Morgan is all in on this season because she jumps in as the caller again. And at this point, this is 3 episodes in. They're probably about 4 hours in, give or take. And Morgan has played a role in every challenge at this point. And I wouldn't be surprised if in the strategizing room, the breakout room, if she's a vocal person there. Maybe you guys can give a little bit of feedback there.
Yeah, Lauren, you had Morgan. Was she wanting to be the caller, or were they like, hey, Morgan, we think you'd be great?
Yeah, so essentially Morgan, straightforward as she always is, she's very confident in herself, and that shows here in this challenge. She said that she was confident in being the caller, knew how she wanted to go about the challenge, and she had a set plan with exactly saying, we're going to go one at a time, I'm going to whip through it, and she said, listen to me, I'm going to explain it all. She's very easygoing with her game plan, and it worked out for her. It was flawless.
So, well, and sorry, go ahead, McKenna.
Oh, I was going to say, on my end, with Eli wanting to be the caller, he was like, I either want to be the caller or the puzzle person. Like, he did not want to be the blindfolded. He wanted that, like, money shot of, like, make or break his game.
Yeah.
So he wound up being the caller because Nikki was more confident on the puzzle. And they kind of had a strategy of, all right, one at a time, and we'll go through it. But
yeah, I think they had identical strategies pretty much, right? Like in my opinion, there's only 2 ways you can really do it. Either you have multiple people on your team all hold up a card and you say, yes, yes, no, no, yes, no. You know what I mean? Everybody remembers you're the first, you're the second, you're the third, and you just say yes, no, yes, you know what I mean, or whatever.
Or
like that.
Say their name if they're a yes.
So you do multiples, or you do individual and just say yes, no, and divide them and lay them out in order and move on, which, pretty much both teams decided to do that. Divide your deck, get your suit, and then we'll work on putting them in order. You know what I mean? Then we'll focus on having the ace to king lined up. And, you know, we're beating around the bush a little bit, but obviously we see Dylan and Eli working together. And I have to give credit to Dylan here because he is staying calm.
Mhm.
And
Oh,
a lot of
kind of.
people, no, but a lot of people in this situation would be freaking out and like
Yeah.
cursing and swearing, getting louder and louder. And like, what do you want me to do here?
Yeah.
And you see a little bit of build up there, but nothing too crazy.
The only part where he gets frustrated is when Eli's like, dude, you're frozen.
Yeah, and he's
Philip's
not
like,
frozen.
what? Like, I'm not frozen.
Well, that's why I want to know, why in the world would you let your caller be the person that has the shittiest internet out of everyone on the tribe?
Did they know that though at the time? Like,
I don't think so, because it seemed like he just started glitching at the challenge. He
Yeah.
seemed relatively fine. Again, he sat out that one other challenge, so we
That's
didn't
true.
see that bit. And I hadn't seen them scramble yet because this is their first challenge that they lost. So
Well,
I
and
don't know exactly if his internet was all that bad.
and from Eli's perspective, you heard him say, "Dylan, you froze." When really, so like he might have been having issues this whole time and just assumed everybody else was having issues, so let
Yeah.
me do it, right?
Mhm.
Like, you know, maybe he thought everyone had internet problems but him, which, you know, I've been there where I'm like, "Oh, you froze," when really I see the internet connection error or whatever comes
Yeah.
up 2 minutes
Yep.
later. But regardless, they have a problem here. His internet is freezing, Eli's freezing, there's delays, and then when they finally get the cards in order, you know, you hear Lauren say, "That's incorrect. You know, that's incorrect. It's wrong."
So they go
And
over it 3-4
they
times.
go,
Three
yeah,
times. They like literally lay it out for us and keep saying, what is wrong with it? I'm sitting here
yeah.
and I kid you not, we have like a production chat and I go, this could not be real.
Yeah, and you know what? Dylan obviously didn't catch it, but to be fair, Dylan's blindfolded and is focusing on instructions, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And even if he heard the instructions properly, he's not focusing on that right now. He's focusing on, I have item in my hand, yes or no.
What is
What
it?
do I do? Left, right. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Very, very tactile, not really figurative, right? And then you hear Kyle eventually say, "Guys, why are you saying ace two, or sorry, ace, king ace? You should be saying ace 2, 3, 4, 5." And I don't know if Kyle was just kind of holding that in the whole time and he was being devious and just letting Eli flounder horribly.
I think the thing was he
Or
didn't
if it was
think
just he
he could
didn't clue
talk.
in. Okay.
Yeah, they didn't know if they could actually talk if they weren't like, so that was the
The
other
person
thing.
in- So
Unless it
that's
was
why
like
he
person
asked,
interaction.
saying, "Hey, can I clarify something that was said in the
But
rules?"
man,
And
how do you not like, give me a strike? I'm yelling. Like you're screwing it up. You know what I mean? Let production tell me to stop talking.
well,
I'm
it's
gonna
his
say
first
something.
mini, so like
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't know.
if you don't
Fair
know
enough.
kind of like the rules of the road or whatever, then
Yeah. Fair enough. And then you see Jackie, you know, comes in and says, your tribe escapes the vote. Is that the
Yeah.
answer? I think it was,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly. Okay. So Jackie gets the puzzle. What kind of puzzle was it? Was it a whole bunch of letters
it's
and
the
just
same one as we used with season 1, where we just had, it was the same amount of letters scrambled in that word. So if it was a random 3 letters, it's a 3-letter word.
okay.
So we had the correct amount of words in that phrase and the correct amount of letters in that word.
And just have to rearrange the letters to make your
Yep.
to make your sentence. Okay. So if you see a 4-letter word, guess vote and then see if it works, and you know,
Yeah, I
trial
think
and
she
error.
found escapes or something like that. And
That's
And then it
Right.
clicked. And I think she said she also saw vote in there too. So like once she got that, it clicked for her.
Yeah, which is big.
Mhm.
Right. And I love, after this, we get a group confessional. We see a little bit from Morgan and Jackie individually. They're happy they took control a little bit. Once again, Jackie on the puzzle, getting lots of attention there, showing that, you know, she's a force to be reckoned with. And same with Morgan again, you know, taking the lead. And when they get in a group, the one thing that just jumped out at me when they're all celebrating, yay, everything's happy, 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 happy. Greg just has to say, well, you know, I think your yeps could have been a little better, Morgan. Even though we won and you did great, you know, you were a bit confusing with your yeps. And that one mistake that I made, throwing a card halfway across the room before you said anything, is really because your yeps weren't that good. And I'm like, man, just use this to bond. now is your time to bond with your team and just find a crack and wedge yourself in there. And he's like, no, don't forget, I have to say something negative. I'm Greg.
It's Greg. Come on. What you've seen of Greg so far, it is a classic Greg move.
It's kind of almost comparable to like the Dom Chris Noble situation in Ghost Island, where Jeff's like, would anybody else have done this different? And Dom's just like, yeah. And like, no, you don't do that. You just go to camp.
No.
Go to camp.
No. And then we get into the scrambles of Tapua. Finally, the winner's euphoria is over. They're all of a sudden reality is hitting, and right away you see Eli going full tilt, throwing names out to everybody about everybody. Starts off with Carlo, just because, which is convenient for him. I don't know if he knows it or not, but really him and Eli and Carlo are the two names that a lot of people aren't mentioning as part of their 5 right now. You saw Anthony mention at the beginning that he was kind of working the gambit or whatever, playing Eli a bit, but you don't see Dylan mentioning that. You don't see Serena really mentioning that. You don't see Nikki mentioning Eli much, or Carlo. So he picks the right name. If you're going to pick a name, Carlo is the right name to throw out. But then he has no problem later on throwing Nikki's name out. And I think he throws Kyle's name out at one point, based on some of the confessionals we're seeing. And in the vote, I think Kyle said something about that. And it's just so aggressive.
Yeah.
And this is an opportunity for some of the people like Serena and Kyle and folks who haven't played a lot to observe. This is what happens now when people are on the block, the chopping block. How do you defend yourself, in a way that people will respect you and respect your logic? What reasons are you giving? What it's not just, I want to vote Carlo, let's vote Carlo. Why? Right? Give me a reason of how you and I working together, getting him out moves us forward in the game, something strategic. And it brings me back to Brittley. Remember when Brittley was in a really, really rough spot?
Yeah.
And she was told to her face, Brittley, like, it's likely you or Greg. I think Shawn said that, right?
Yep.
And then she stays calm, goes into the other rooms and just says, hey, folks, here's kind of what I'm thinking. Here's how I can add value. And I'm thinking Shawn, he's being a bit erratic. He's throwing names out there or whatever. Maybe Shawn. And compare that with Eli just going, which for a lot of people, especially if this is your first tribal, right? These guys just lost their first one. All of a sudden they're like, whoa. Like, slow down. What? So that was kind of rough to see.
I think one of my favorite confessionals was actually from Dylan, where he was like, I don't know how we did it, but we got Eli and Carlo, the two people like on the block, to pit against each other instead of working together to try and find a vote somewhere. They got them to work against each other.
It was a good move. It was a really good move for that to happen, especially because the first vote, when your tribe goes to the first tribal, is very critical with how it's going to line up down the road. It can make or break your game with who you choose to let go home first.
Yeah, and you see Nikki at this point talking to Dylan individually, saying, I think Eli might have the idol. And Dylan had an opportunity.
Repeat that. How many times did Nikki say that?
I honestly started to count, and I lost count.
You should have put a counter on the screen. Bing, bing.
I know.
But I mean, Dylan has an opportunity here to say, I want to work with you long term, because you have 50-50. Once again, you have a choice, 2 ways to go. You play it off like you don't have it, which I think is the right move. I think he did the right thing. It's too early in the game, I think, to be giving Nikki that information that he actually has the idol.
Right.
Or if he felt like he was alone, right? If he wasn't so confident with his Anthony angle, he could pull Nikki in right now and say, Nikki, I want to work with you, and I want to show you this as a sign of trust. We can vote Eli out 100% because I have the idol. I have it.
Yeah.
And be like, what? But then you don't know where Nikki is if she goes and tells, Serena or Kyle or whoever else. And so I think it was the right move. He stayed in the dark about having it. And then we roll into tribal, and it's you know what? It starts off in the most, I don't know if it's poetic or ironic, But Lauren, you ask Eli pretty much, why did you do it today? Do you have any regrets or whatever? Like, you're the caller today. And he goes, what?
Oh, that was my favorite moment, aside from the beginning part of my sentence. But with him, I just like, that is exactly how the challenge went. Literally, I asked him the question. He had no idea what I said and I had to repeat myself.
Yeah. And that was perfect. That really just summarizes whatever his quote there was, should have been the title for the episode, because it is just hilarious how he has an internet issue when you're asking him pretty much about his internet issues. And and we see pretty much everybody works the status quo. Nobody really does anything too questionable in the tribal. Dylan was a little shaky because he actually shared blame. Why? Everybody blames Eli right now. Don't share the blame. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's unfortunate he had internet issues. It is what it is. That's all you got to say.
Well, I kind of put that question on him though, because I also was trying to take some blame for it, because
But he doesn't have to answer it.
Oh no, he doesn't have to answer it, but he did.
The question was asked. You're right. You're right. And you see Serena, this is her first tribal ever, similar to Kyle. And has Eli played these before? I forget.
I think Eli's new as well.
Yeah, he was a newbie too.
Right. So that might explain a little bit of the frantic kind of scramble. And Serena's quote where she says, the honeymoon's over. But then she gives a really great answer, in my opinion, when it comes to tribal council, saying, we're 7 strong and we're going to be loyal, and it's all about loyalty, loyalty, loyalty. I'm working with my people. I trust my alliance. And it's just on brand for trying to show, work with me, I'm loyal. And we're a strong group moving forward, whatever happens tonight. Right. And that's 99% of, what I think tribal should be about, is just show that you're loyal to people and don't take blame for anything.
Yep.
And don't put a target on your back, right? Agree with what was just said and say you're loyal. And
do your best to dance around Lauren's questions and don't give a straight answer.
You know what? Like, even Lauren, you asked a question to Anthony and to Serena about sitting out. Like, why did you sit out? Do you think you would have done better? Giving them an opportunity to just shove that dagger in the back.
Oh yeah,
of Eli or whoever. And neither of them took the bait. They just said, no, I felt I'd sit out and do a challenge later. I was better suited for. Everybody did their best, whatever. Never really crushed anybody. Bad for TV, but great strategy.
I mean, there would definitely be some people that would take the bait. I think if I asked Greg that type of question, I think he would have definitely had a different answer.
I think, Shawn, same
deal. Oh,
deal.
yes.
I think, very vocal, aggressive players. I think, exactly. Even if Eli had sat out, I could see maybe him, just based on how aggressive he's been in this episode. But if his back wasn't against the wall, who knows? Woulda, coulda again. But again, Kyle, I just want to end this with Kyle. He and Serena pretty much gave identical type of answers. Once again, great answers to give when you're new to the game. I'm loyal to my group. I want to move forward. We're a loyal tribe. It's unfortunate we're here, but loyalty, loyalty, loyalty.
Yep.
And then we see the vote. Do you guys have anything else about the actual tribal council questions you want to bring up?
No, I think you saw everything that happened. We didn't cut anything from that tribal, correct?
Yeah.
I think we just left it. Yeah. So
it seemed pretty straightforward, and Eli votes Carlo, as would be expected, and everybody else seems to vote Eli, and he is the first Tapua to be booted.
Yep.
First Tapua. I think Eli did have a really good time playing. He told me afterwards that he had a great time with it. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get final words because
his internet.
So we never got that. That's why that wasn't there in the episode.
Yeah. But no, another great episode. And, it's nice to see, blood is in the water now on both sides, and you see who you're really working with and moving forward, which that makes the season.
Yeah. And now we're going to lead into next episode. Does Pacia lose another number and are down in the merge, or do we even up the numbers? Like, time will tell.
Yeah, just depends on the way the game goes. So thanks so much, everyone, for joining us for episode number 3 recap. It was a good one, but episode 4 is coming for you, and it might be even better, especially the immunity challenge. So stay tuned for that.